So we're going to be making falafel. Falafel is something, actually, it's kind of a go-to for small bites when I'm at home, and it's a great one to freeze. So my freezer is usually full of like 4 or 5 different types of falafel, which is, it's great because it's easy to defrost, easy to just pop in the oven. And texturally speaking, you're not losing much. I mean, from freezer to oven, it tastes as good almost if you're making it fresh. So this is a great one to do. And we're obviously going to be using some nice fall ingredients. And to start off, we're going to be using an ingredient that I know I grew up eating a lot. Did not like it when I was young, but it is delicious, and it's dandelion. So has anyone had dandelion before? And yes, this is the same dandelion that we classify as a weed. Yes. You can find it in the grocery store. Don't be eating the ones outside.
The side of the road that have been sprayed with who knows what.
Yeah.
But just an interesting side note. So if something is considered a weed, it's actually pretty nutritious. You know, things that can grow in the wild, they tend to be really high in antioxidants because they can survive anywhere and they can fight off anything. And so we tend to benefit from a lot of that antioxidant power. So weeds are the wave of the future in terms of vegetables, but I'll let you talk about our dandelion today.
So dandelion, you're gonna find in the grocery store, it's gonna be a much larger version than the one you see outside. The one outside is edible though. It's just, like Christy mentioned, most of the ones in public are sprayed with a pesticide. But if you're growing in your own backyard and you're not spraying it, you know, wash it well, but it's edible. Now the one you see in the grocery store is much larger. I've chopped this up already, but the leaves on this were probably about this big. This is what it looks like. It's not a favorite for most because in its raw state it is kind of bitter. I like the bitterness, but it's kind of like a radicchio, that sort of bitterness that you get from a leafy ingredient. It is even a little bit stronger than radicchio, but you can cook it. If you cook it, and oftentimes it's blanched, we're going to do just a quick saute with this. It takes a little bit of that bitterness out, and the flavor is actually really, really nice with everything else. So we're going to start off in a medium saute pan. It's a little bit of onion, a little bit of olive oil, some garlic, and I've left it whole. I've just crushed it with the side of my knife, and you can let it sit for a couple minutes. Christy's mentioned it before. It's better for you the longer it sits. So then we're going to add, I'm not going heavy on the spices here. I'm just going to add one, which will go really nice, which is turmeric. And how many people cook with turmeric? Beautiful, delicious. It's not an overpowering spice by any means. Some people can't taste it at all. It's very mild, and then I know some people that can really, really taste it. So play with it a little bit if you haven't tried it before. Use a little bit at a time, but it's a great ingredient to use. And we want, because it's in powder form, you can find fresh turmeric root. It's a little harder to find, but you can find it, and you can use that as well. Yeah, it's a little easier to use the powder. Just you want to make sure with any sort of powdered spices, you want to cook it out first. So that's why I'm adding it to the onions. The fat is just going to help to cook it down a little bit. If I added it in raw, sometimes you taste the powderiness of spices, so you always want to try to cook it out first a little bit. So that's going to go into the saute pan. Get yourself a spoon. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's right. So turmeric is definitely has a lot of research behind it, and you know, lots of antioxidant benefits, in particular for the brain. So there's evidence looking at, you know, in India there tends to be a much lower rate of Alzheimer's disease and dementia in the older population, and they think it may be because of the use of turmeric in cooking. So definitely a good spice to enjoy.
So our dandelion is going to go right in. Now you can use, if you can't find dandelion, or if it's just too overpowering, you can use kale. Any leafy green actually would be great here. You can use spinach, would work, absolutely. I actually have some purple kale in here. That's why you see the purple. You can use whatever you want. That's going to go in. And we're going to let that cook down. Medium heat the whole way through. I don't want to burn the garlic or the onion. I'm going to be very gentle with this. It's not going to take too long. We just want to wilt the leaves a little bit. So about 5 minutes to soften the onions. Probably like another 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes for the greens. So now, while that's going, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients to our food processor for our falafel. So we're going to start off, yes, thank you.
By plugging in our food
Plugging it in.
processor. Step one.
Step one.
It's not on your instruction list.
Yeah, unless you have one of those wind-up food processors, which is harder to find. 1 cup of pumpkin puree. If you don't cook it from scratch, you can definitely use the canned one. Go for the 100% pure pumpkin. You don't want pumpkin pie mix in your falafel. And you don't have to use pumpkin. Actually, this here, and I mentioned this the last class, I've kind of been turned on to the Hubbard squash. It's a really nice sweet squash that is a little bit drier. So, I mean, anything. You can use anything, but a cup is going to go in. Now, I didn't add any water or moisture on your list. That's because most pumpkin purees, and it's even like the regular pie pumpkins, if you cook them, they tend to be a little bit higher in water. So if it's not mixing, then just add a little bit of liquid to help turn it. So this one, I know it's a little bit drier. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of water. You can add lemon juice as well, just because I want to make sure that it's spinning for me. Some dry ingredients. We're going to use pumpkin seeds in here and a little bit of breadcrumb.
Some protein and some healthy fat, just like our first recipe.
Grated carrot, delicious, very sweet, amazing color. A lot of orange going on here. And I'm going to mix this up just a little bit. Just to get it combined. And then we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of our chickpeas. Now you can do one of 2 things. If you don't have the time, go for the canned ones, drain them, rinse them really well. Very quick solution for that. If you did want to use the dried chickpeas, you can soak them overnight. We have a great video on our YouTube page on how to quick soak them. So you pour boiling water over top and you cover it for an hour. And then you can let it sit, for about an hour, 2 hours after that. It doesn't take too long, or you can do it overnight. So this was overnight, and you can see I should be able, so like arm strength to crush it. So it's been pretty soft. Now I find when you use chickpeas from dry, they tend to be drier than your canned ones. So you might need to add a little bit more moisture. You end up with a much more solid falafel, which is delicious. It's really tasty. But you can go either way. Again, just keep an eye on the consistency.
Yeah. And if you are using the canned, you can find lower sodium options, or you can just rinse it really, really well and reduce a lot of the sodium. Also try to look, if you are using canned products, for BPA-free versions, so that you're minimizing your exposure to an estrogen-like compound, which may increase cancer risk.
So just season it, a little salt, a little pepper. It's hard to get that in the falafel after you cook it. Okay. And we'll blend it up. Now your herbs, I like to put them at the end, especially if I'm using fresh herbs. Sorry, I'll stop that.
What?
Especially if I'm using fresh herbs. I find if you add fresh parsley or fresh cilantro and you're smashing it up for a while, you bruise it and it tends to go a little bit bitter. And you're not going to get that really nice, cilantro flavor or that parsley flavor. I know some people give me that look when I say cilantro, or basil flavor, whatever it is. So anytime I'm using fresh herbs, I'm going to always add it at the end of the mixture because I don't want to destroy it. So push this down, just give it a little bit of help. But these are really, really bright orange falafel.
Getting some fabulous vitamin A, another great antioxidant to support your immune system and your liver.
All right, so mix it up quite a bit. Cilantro is going to go in.
We should work on our timing, and I can say the key point everyone needs to remember is, and then we'll start blending.
That would not be useful. All right, the kale, sorry, not the kale. Well, kale and dandelion, onion mixture. Let it cool a little bit. That's going to go in. And this is going to have some incredible flavor, some really nice color as well.
The dandelion gives you some vitamin A and C as well. So we're really packing in the antioxidants into this recipe with our healthy fats and some protein and carbohydrates for energy. All good things to support our liver function.
I don't know if I added lemon on there. I just decided now we're going to add lemon.
Why not?
Yeah, the acidity is really nice. All right. And we'll blend that up again. Now, see how the ingredients in the top aren't going to the bottom? Sometimes it takes a little bit of work, so you're just going to want to push some of this down.
Help it out, just like you're helping out your liver. You got to give this machine a little support.
You want to make sure you don't want to add too much moisture. Otherwise, it's not going to form well. It's going to be a little too wet. The mixture with falafel should be pretty dry. Most traditional falafel, they actually use a meat grinder for the chickpeas to get a really nice meal out of it, and it packs really, really well. This is sort of a cheap version, but it works. All right, that's as much as we're going to get today. And what we're going to do is you can do a traditional meatball hand style, or Christy's already washing her hands, or you can get an ice cream scoop, which is a lot easier. And what you want to do is just scoop it out like this, and then right onto your baking sheet. Really, really simple, very easy to do.
And no one complains about getting a smaller falafel.
And you can leave it a little, like I'd probably blend this down a little bit more, but you can leave it a little kind of chunky. You know, some of the big pieces of the chickpea and you have some of the big pieces of the dandelion are really, really nice. This can be frozen as is. That's not bad. This can be frozen as is. So if I wasn't cooking all these today, I wouldn't bake them. I'd put them right into the freezer like this on the parchment, on the baking tray. Freeze them individually, an hour, hour and a half, and then you take them off and then put them into a Ziploc bag. And that's how you store them. If I am cooking them, I'm putting them into the oven about 375 for about 30 minutes. And we get this really, really nice golden color here.
Oh, beautiful.
And you know, most falafel are deep fried. You get the really nice crunch. But I'm telling you, if you get the nice golden brown, you have a really nice crispiness on the outside, and it's still nice and moist on the inside because of the pumpkin. You have the dandelion, some really nice flavors, and a nice moisture level as well. So really, really simple. I know I say everything is really, really simple.
Cooking is easy.
But falafel has become one of those ones. Again, you do it once, you make like 1,000 of them, and then freeze them, and they're the best little snack, little meal.
Absolutely.
So garlic, for this dip here, I'm gonna go heavy on the garlic. I love garlic. So we're gonna use a whole head, and what you wanna do is cut off just the very top. So about a 1/4 inch off of the top. That way you're exposing it. Yeah, I'll show you. This one has a stem, so it'll be a little harder, but most garlic you buy probably won't have the stem, but just a little bit so you can open it up. And just pour in just like half a teaspoon of olive oil and a little pinch of salt. Wrap it in foil, and then you're gonna throw it in the oven, the same temperature, same time you're cooking your falafel. So by the time your falafel's ready, you have this beautiful roasted garlic. Delicious, and that should come out really easily.
Like toothpaste out of a tube. People are always grossed out when I say that. Garlic toothpaste.
Brush your teeth with this in the morning. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so we have our roasted garlic. We're gonna put it into this bowl here. We've got a lot of it. We're just gonna mush it around a little bit. All right. And we're gonna add a few tablespoons of our yogurt.
Some more protein, and a little bit of calcium with our Greek yogurt.
Again, a little squeeze of lemon juice. You can use the zest on that lemon as well. And whatever herb you put into the falafel, you can put into the sauce. So I use cilantro. Sorry.
The audience is divided.
But you can
on
use
whether or not they like the cilantro.
parsley, cilantro, basil. Give that a rough chop. Right in there. And I mean, the yogurt's there to give it, a little bit of that creaminess. But I don't want to just dump like a cup of yogurt in there because that's all I'm going to taste. I want this to be the garlic. The garlic's going to be the star in this one. Can you smell it? Is that what you said? Yeah. All right. So some of that kind of creamy roasted garlic with cilantro and the lemon. And this is the perfect sort of dip for these pumpkin falafel.